welcome back for this vlog. We've got today's patient behind me, cow, 321, and it's a second surgical vlog in 2 weeks, I know. Spoiling you guys. This should be a less major surgery than that hernia we did the other day, but I'm just gonna get this girl ready and we'll talk through what we're doing with her today. This cow has been unlucky enough to develop a cancer on her eye, and specifically it's a squamous cell carcinoma, which is one of the most common cancers in cattle. Most of the time it develops on the eyeball itself, but in a small number of cases, like this one, it starts on the third eyelid. And now the third eyelid can freak people out when they see it for the first time, because it looks a bit reptilian or a bit alien, but many animals have it, it just remains tucked out of the way at the front of the eye. Look closely at your dog or cat and you might be able to see it just peeping out. If you've been keeping up with these New Zealand vlogs, you'll know by now that these squamous cell carcinomas are a lot more common here in New Zealand than they are in the UK. And really that's down to UV light, which is a major trigger for squamous cell carcinomas. Cows in New Zealand typically spend much more of their time outside in the sun, and of course there's that pesky hole in the ozone layer over this part of the world as well. The good news for this cow is that for now at least, the cancer appears to be limited to her third eyelid. If it had started elsewhere or spread further, then the only reasonable treatment would be to remove the entire eye. Now cows cope remarkably well with one eye, but if we can avoid removing it, even better. It's a quicker and less distressing procedure with a much more rapid healing time, and she keeps her sight intact. The first job is to restrain her and then numb the eye. I'm using a local anaesthetic in two forms here. First, a topical drop which gets squirted directly onto her conjunctiva. That's the pink membrane around the eye, the same one that gets sore when you have conjunctivitis. After that's had a little time to work, she'll get some injectable local anaesthetic as well into the area I'm going to surgerise. The local anaesthetic will wear off in an hour or so she gets some longer lasting pain relief as well. In this case, it's a drug called ketoprofen, the brand name of which is Key, injected into the muscle. Great, thanks. Let's just give that a bit of time to work. See what I'm gonna give her while we're waiting for that local to work I'll give her some Key. Of a mind not to give her any antibiotics just because it should be a snip at snip, you know?
Well I can watch it if it starts going.
Well that's it. Oh, steady go. You do occasionally hear of, mixed vets or long-term farm vets doing a day to animal practice and they have to get out of the habit of
bashing
the dogs.
Yes, definitely.
Taking the temperature and wiping the thermometer on the dog. Things like that. It's not really the go. There we go. There you go, darling. Boom, 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 boom. So I can, 2 seconds. Right. Now that eyelid is numbed up, we can get a better look at what we're dealing with. These early cancers are often easy to miss. They just look like an unusually prominent third eyelid. Hopefully you can all see that and you might be able to see that roughened lump on it. This is the cancer. We'll get a better look at that later on. The third eyelid is a triangular flap of tissue, so the plan is to grab it with my forceps, then make two cuts, one in line with the lower eyelid and one in line with the upper eyelid. I'll be trying to take as big a piece as possible, giving myself as much distance as possible from the cancer, and this should give us the best chance of not leaving any microscopic trace of the cancer in there, which would likely grow back and put us in an even worse position than before. My first problem is that I'm too optimistic about how well behaved our patient is. The local anaesthetic has had plenty of time to work its magic, but you can't blame her. She can still see me, and if a strange man came at my face with a pair of scissors, I wouldn't be having any of it either. We still need to cut that cancer out though. So we take a two-pronged approach. Think about vets being a little like Lance Armstrong. We're not necessarily any stronger or smarter than anyone else, but we do have certain chemical advantages. In this case, I give her a smidge of sedation into the tail vein. Meanwhile, Helen the farmer beefs up the physical restraint using nose clips, which you've seen me use before. Pinching the nose is the same logic behind using a nose ring in a bull, or using a twitch on a horse, or pinching a naughty child's ear. None are outright painful, but they are uncomfortable enough to grab the attention of the beast involved. Techniques like this are probably too severe to be used for routine restraint, but in circumstances like this where we need her to stay very still in case she injures herself or me, they are very important. Between the sedation and the nose clips, we seem to have it.
Hey, darling, it's okay. Thank you. Not waste time with that. Lovely. Sedation makes a big difference in nose clips, I think.
There's no point fighting them.
Especially not around the eye. So I think once they know they're caught, that's they can't, not quite calm down, but they just give up, don't they? Remember at the end of vet school doing a large animal rescue thing with the fire service?
Yeah, oh yeah.
And this is the most, sort of horses and cattle and anything big really. And this is the most dangerous point of those sorts of operations. You know, when something's in a ditch or turned around, is when they suddenly realise they might be able to get up. So when you know, at the point where you're maybe just about getting them on their feet, then they realise, and often there's 5 or 6 people around them, and then that's where they go from being suddenly really still to scrabbling and possibly hurting people in their attempts. I haven't got much of a third eye left there, have you? Oh, it's bleeding, which is good. So yeah, Helen, if you just watch that for any sign of infection, or a recurrence, I think. Thank you. Should be able to stagger out. There you go, girl. Good girl. Ooh.
What just happened?
Yeah. Right. There you go, no, go for it, There you go. It's a bit wobbly, that's okay. Whee! Nice and steady. So that girl, she's going to go and sleep off the wee bit of sedation she's had. She's a bit wobbly, but you can see how much of a difference that made once we got that into her. And the nose clamps on, a little bit of sedation, and restraint goes a long way. But I just thought I'd show you what we've taken off. So there's, you want to take as wide a margin as you can, really, because you don't want to miss any microscopic spread that might have been in that third eyelid. So there's the third eyelid. You can't really tell now, but I've taken out a wedge of tissue, and this little nub here is the growth there. I don't know how well you can be able to see that, but there's the growth, and you can see that's how it would have been sitting in her eye. Sort of here's the sort of point of the eye, if you like, commissure, be the official name. There's the growth, and you see I've just tried to take as wide a margin as I can through the cartilage of the third eyelid. You can't feel this, but there's cartilage there at that point. So growth, nice wide section of third eyelid. She should cope pretty well without that third eyelid, to be honest. There's always a risk of recurrence and a risk of infection, but she's had some anti-inflammatory to cope with, to help her cope with any discomfort from the surgery, and Helen's going to watch her really closely. If it gets weepy or pussy at all, she'll be straight onto some antibiotics. But it's a pretty clean surgery, and nice and quick, I think, is the main thing. Again, that's probably going to be quite a quick surgical vlog. Apologies I didn't get a chance to talk it over much with you, but I will put in a good voiceover for the procedure itself, which must have taken about 30 seconds. If you enjoyed that, let me know. If you didn't, let me know, and I will see you for the next one.